Michael Palmisano, welcome to Analog Dialogue. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great, Brody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I've been watching your YouTube videos for a little while now, and checking out Guitar Gate and all that stuff, and you're doing some great stuff. But I'll let you explain all that. So, because I start every episode with the same question. It's for anyone watching who hasn't heard of what you do, could you describe your presence in the arts industry?
Oh man, my whole family wants the answer to this question. No one understands what I do. So uh, basically, I'm a musician, and I'm an online educator. I fell in love with education, and around 2013 or so, I decided to go all in online, um, because I was starting to see other people do that and have success with it. And as an artist, as someone who had been teaching for a long time and gigging forever, who had pretty much reached their ceiling in my own little niche, and we started having kids, I thought that going online and trying to scale as an educator would be the best thing to do for my personality type and skill set and whatever. And so yeah, I've been doing it. It didn't go well in the beginning, but I've been doing it full time now as my sole, profession and how I support my family since about 2015 or so.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. So that just reminded me. I had a conversation with Tomo a few weeks ago,
What's the name?
and yeah, and he was saying the same thing. Like he just needed more time with his family, right? And it was doing that, creating that online platform really helped to sort of get that connection back. But what was the sort of impetus behind creating Guitar Gate?
So, so honestly, it's exactly what I just said. I mean, I had been teaching, you know, at full scale, so 50, 60 private lessons a week for 6 or 7 years,
Yeah,
and gigging um, at full scale in a local corporate, like wedding corporate cover band. So the stuff that, pays the most, um, doing 110, 120 dates a year for, again, another 6 or 7 years or so. And so I literally, and was a full time dad, during the day, because my wife's a special ed teacher. So I was to stay at home during the day, and amongst a bunch of other things. But basically, I was at 29 years old, 28 years old, however, something like that, had kids, and both my wife and I were teachers, and we were like at our complete ceiling as far as time and money, and getting burnt out because it's pretty unsustainable.
yeah,
And so to hit that wall at a young age, and then have something, watch the internet kind of come to fruition, and watch some of these other people start to make the jump, um, in the early 2010 period. Um, Eventually, it got to a point where even in 2013, I felt like I was late, which is obviously not the case, but it wasn't in the beginning, the true beginning. Um, and it just over the years from 2010, 11, 12, it just kind of weighed heavier and heavier on me. And eventually I was just like, this is, I have to do this. Like I'm not going to be doing these private lessons and gigging this much for the next 30 years. And I have an opportunity here to scale myself, to do things that don't require me to be on stage or in the room, one on one, 100% of the time, to support my family and fulfill my creative outlet. And so that really was the impetus. It was, I was completely and totally maxed out at like 28, 29 years old.
yeah, yeah. Well, and in one of your more recent videos, you spoke about like building your life around a family instead of your family around a life.
That's it, man. You're paying
And
attention.
yeah, but that really spoke to me, because I mean, it's so easy as an artist to like just get caught up in the process of making art, or trying to make it or something, right? Um, but so was it just that you just sort of hit that wall, and what led to that specific realization?
So a lot of things. But you know, so as an artist, we are fortunate enough that we have this innate drive where we feel very passionately that uh, we can create something that only we can create, right?
Mm,
That we should, and that when we watch ourselves not do it, that's where our depression and self-loathing and things like that comes from. It comes from us watching us not do what we know only we can and should do.
mm,
And so, you know, I I fell in love with education. I know I'm a good guitar player, but I felt like I was even a better teacher. And I felt like the combination of those two, I could create my own niche on the internet. And instead of looking for bigger stages and bigger things, in the ego department, um, I could find that fulfillment and that drive by building something new and unique to me, but wasn't always my original plan, right? And so, because I fell so in love with education and how it made me feel, and watching the results of students and how much better of a player it made me because I had to slow down and internalize things, um, I realized that I could build a life around my family instead of just doing whatever it is my passion would take me, and then the rest of the people can come or go, but like I'm doing this, and
yeah.
to be totally frank, my dad wasn't around much when I was a kid, and so much about so much of my many of my feelings about education are intertwined with how I feel about being a dad and a spouse. And to me, they're all the same goals. So as a creative, as an artist, I love that I'm building something that didn't exist before. It's a different goal than when I was 10 or 15 or 20 or 25, right? And it will probably continue to change. Um, but I I love it. And it is like the joy of my life that I get to do this, and that I'm alive at this time period when this option was available. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Like without the internet, I mean, you wouldn't be connected to this community, right?
True.
Um,
It's really a wild thing, um, because music, like teaching, like everything else, like if you're on stage or in a classroom or whatever, you're forever uh, limited by how many people fit in the room, fit in the venue, or whatever it is, right? Um, and that's just obliterated. It's just gone. Now you have to be good. You have to be, you have to try to be great, and it's a whole bunch of different conversations. But it's that same drive that keeps you up at night when you don't do it. It's that same drive. It's just focused in a different direction, because it works.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, community is something that I really like to talk about on the show. And what you do is just like a perfect example of that, man. So like, can you tell me how you sort of have started this community, and how you've built it up?
Oh, there's so many things, man. There's so many things. I'll just say that people talk about community, and it's kind of unclear what that means all the time. Whether that's followers or subscribers or likes and emails or all these different things. Um, I I operate completely off intuition and don't follow any metrics. And That is because that is my personality type. I genuinely live for people, and since I was 5 years old, because again, my childhood wasn't like a lot of people had it worse, but mine was, I was on my own a lot. And I started at a very young age realizing that I I just started building my own community and my own network of friends and other places to go and to build this web, and the value in that and the value of people at a very young age, elementary school. And so I have been this kind of natural connector of people and builder of relationships for the entirety of my life. And so the internet has just kind of allowed me to do that again at scale. There are lots of people that make a living on the internet and in art and whatever that don't really build communities, and they don't have to. But you can sell courses, or you can sell products, you can make physical things, and you can buy ads. There's so many different ways to do it. But those of us that are successful in communities, building communities, I feel, do it in their regular life anyway. Like
Okay.
we're just those types of people. And
Yeah.
that's my opinion. Because again, like Tomo or any others, I'm fortunate enough that to be able to talk to a lot of these other people that do this. And different things work at different times for different people for different reasons. The community thing for me, and having everything based around forming real relationships and getting the people inside to know each other and doing interviews like this, like, to me, it's just my personality, and it's how I choose to go through the world. It's not for everyone. It's certainly the most effort. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So yeah, like how does that community sort of impact or influence what you do, like on a day-to-day basis?
They're good questions. And I'll tell you the truth. The truth is that as an artist, as a creator, as an educator, as a guitar player, um, I'm you know, deeply, deeply, what's the word? I When you put everything off all the time, what is that?
A
Procrastinate.
procrastinator. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We all, like, have you read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield?
No, I haven't.
All right, that's the book to read.
Okay.
Um, Anybody that's reading, that's a creative and wants to figure out how to be a professional creative instead of just a hobbyist, it's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And basically, he talks about the resistance. So the resistance is the thoughts. They are the thoughts and feelings in your mind and body that convince you that you don't have to do real work right now. And we all know that feeling. We all know that little voice is what we should listen to, but the much louder voice, which is, I'm not good enough, it's not ready yet, I haven't, who's going to listen to me, blah, 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 blah. So we all have that in us. And the reason that I build a community as opposed to doing course sales or physical products, which I have done in the past, but I've moved on from, is because I have found that the more I build a deep relationship with the community, the more it forces me to be responsible and to actually engage me to continue to get better.
Yeah.
So as much as it's about other people signing up to the website or watching the videos to learn something, it's like the bigger it gets and the deeper it gets, the more I wake up every day and I just feel like I got stuff to do, man. You know what I mean? And that's important. I know that sounds kind of silly, but one of the main reasons I taught in person was because I knew that if I got some other day job that made more money, I wouldn't have this in my hands for 8 hours a day, period.
Yeah.
And so even if the vast majority of students were quote unquote babysitting that didn't practice or whatever, when I was in person, because there's lots of that,
Mhm.
I knew that I would probably make less money, but my ultimate goal was to keep this in my hands and just to get a little bit better every day. And that's, to this day, what the community does for me. And that's why I run a community instead of doing business a different way. Because this is like the pursuit of my lifetime. And the more engaged and the bigger it gets, the more empowered I become to actually like work and get better. And that's kind of the goal.
Yeah.
That all makes sense?
Yeah, man, 100%. This is, yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. And it just shows, the importance of the learner to the educator, and the educator to the learner,
That
um
that point is not taken enough. A lot of people don't understand what that means uh, deeply and truly. When you choose to take the time to break something down and to teach it to somebody and have the vindication to where you feel confident that what you're saying is correct, you only get to that point because you've dug into it so much
yeah.
that you feel. And most of us don't do that to ourselves. We don't, you know? And so it is absolutely true. Being a teacher makes you a better player or painter or whatever it is that you do, because you're forced to, go to a point of purity where you're like, okay, yes, this is true and this is accurate and this is correct. And on top of that, we build.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's sort of like at the heart of what you do in your YouTube videos, right? Like, because they're like on the surface, they look like regular sort of reaction videos, right? But there's
I don't know things, man, but React YouTube recommends it when it has React in it, dude.
yeah.
But yeah, if you watch them, you're like, yeah, this is not a typical reaction video.
No, it really isn't, because it's really an educational video more than anything, right? So, like, and you you explain like harmonic structure of the song, and break down melodies, and all of that, right? So, um and you mentioned that too in your videos, when you're going through them, right? Is like, this isn't, what you're used to seeing. This is like, you're going to learn something here, right? um and I guess what I'm wondering is what made music education so important to you?
Well, again, this all ties together. When I was a kid growing up playing guitar and took lessons, I had teachers, one for the longest period of time, but that didn't teach me theory, didn't teach me to read, didn't teach me ear training. Your quintessential, I'm coming today, I want to learn this Randy Rhoads lick. They learn the Randy Rhoads lick, they teach it to you, off you go. It is pure, like, instant gratification, chop building. Um, but as far as actually learning harmony, melody, like, there really wasn't any of that. It was just riffs, man. It was just riffs.
Yeah.
And so when I went to music school, when I went to GIT, I went because actually I was going into school in college for business, and that little voice was like, if you don't do this, you're never going to do this, you know. And so I listened to it, and I dropped out and drove to LA.
Yeah.
And when I went there to GIT, which for those that don't know is a performance-based music school, so not a conservatory like a Berkeley, it is performance-based. So you, in addition to your regular classes, or your single string, your theory, your rhythm, your reading, etc., you have to do all these live playing workshops and play basically 10 times a week with people you don't know, everyone a different genre, and you do that for 2 years straight. So it's like a live playing boot camp, and people go there to get professional hired gun gigs. That's pretty much the deal.
Yeah.
So when I went there, you know, I didn't know anything, but I had chops, and you know, they were like, play me 2 octaves of this scale or whatever, and I couldn't do it because I didn't have the terminology and it wasn't in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, if you show it to me, I'll play it right back to you. And of course they did that. And that's not uncommon for people that learn like me. Because it's the guitar, it's shape based, and it's, you know, whatever. So I really got my butt kicked in there, and this harkens back to the previous conversation where you have to really, really know something and be confident to teach it like it's gospel, right? Like, this is a third, like this is like whatever it is, right? And because I had the first, you know, 15 years or 12 years of my playing knowing none of that. You know, just my natural ability being with rhythm and dynamics and chops and things like that, but not melody and harmony. When I did have to learn it for school, it was so difficult that I feel like I internalized it and understand it to a level that is completely pure and obvious, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so when you see me stop and start videos and talk for 2 minutes about the 9th is the 5th of your 5 chord, like, remember it for life. The 9th is the 5th of your 5. Like, it's those little keys that took me years to figure out and be like, that's how you build melodies. Where the chord, and just remember them. Like, your 6 is your 4, right? Your 6 is the 3rd of your 4 chord, right? And to think in terms of function. I kind of created this curriculum for myself, which was like a hybrid between my background, what I learned in school, and what I knew was practical and pragmatic for actually gigging on stage, and kind of put those 3 together from the viewpoint of what I saw work and not work for teaching with my students for so many years, that I just felt like I really had a lot to share, and that it was so hard for me, but I truly believe that, like, I get it, that I don't know, I couldn't not do that, because I've been fighting my whole life for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been really hard.
Yeah. Let's go back to your YouTube videos and sort of, you know, stuff that I've been noticing, right? So why, I gotta ask, like, why do you start each video just with a jam?
That's a good question. You know, because there's a lot of YouTubers, friends of mine, that I respect deeply. Like, I'm fortunate enough to, you know, count Rick Beato as like a close friend and a mentor of mine. And he tells me all the time, he's like, dude, get right to the chase. It's like, everybody knows you can play guitar, and for God's sake, if you're gonna wear the same shirt 2 days in a row, just make it black. You know? And there's so many things like that. And there's so many YouTubers that are like that. They're really successful, way more successful than me. But I also, man, I just am who I am. And I have found this, and you've talked to a lot of people like me and like you, where what works is authenticity. There's no magic. There's no magic structure or workflow or whatever that works for everybody. Different things work for different reasons at different times for different people. And my other friend, Tim Pierce, and mentor, you know, has a great saying, which I love to repeat when these subjects come up. He goes, you know, at the end of the day, we all work hard. And if you just double down on yourself and you work hard, you're going to end up with the audience you're supposed to have. And some people and those audiences look very different. And some people will have very large audiences with a skinny or short, shallow depth. And some audiences and some people will have small or skinny audiences, but like very, very deep, right? And so I start videos with a little riff because that's kind of who I am. I'm very spur of the moment. It's the same reason I don't edit my videos.
Yeah.
You know, I don't edit the videos. And so many people, you know, spend so much time editing the videos and doing color correction and doing all these things so that they get more and more views, and they're way more successful than I am on YouTube. But my goal is not to be really successful on YouTube. My goal is to get, by the time I die, as best as I can on this thing, and to help as many other people as I can along the way. That's it, man. And so the reason I don't edit my videos is the same way I run a community. It's the same way I do whatever, because what you're seeing is me just every day choosing to pick the thing up, trying to get a little better, learn something new, share what I've come along the way. And that's it. It's kind of like documenting what the process. It's not like I am making these videos that I think will go well. You're really just seeing me documenting me. So if I feel like playing something in the beginning that's very obscure, and I find myself playing a bunch of wrong notes and then trying to figure out my way out of it, like, that's just who I am. That's who I am in the room, man.
Yeah. So what like excites you about what's that?
Better or worse?
Yeah. So what like what excites you like to do what you do?
You know, it's I mean, obviously the feedback from people that choose to email you or whatever, and they share their stories about how some video from someone they don't know watched and somehow made an incredible life moment for them and made them pivot, you know, or something happened. I mean, I'm not going to go into detail but you would be surprised. You would be surprised. Like when I choose to share stuff about family or personal struggles, and just simply show that I showed up today, you know, this is my vehicle for dealing with the things that, you know, I don't necessarily know how to deal with all the time. You'd be surprised the amount of emails or messages that or people on the website come and tell me and just said, man, I didn't know if today was going to be my last day. I didn't know, you know, I lost somebody, I lost a child before, and I realized that, I can choose something to try to fight through it, and you made it clear. Like, there's so many amazing messages that come when you choose to just be completely raw and share you. That is the reason I keep doing it, and that's the reason I keep going. It's because I know behind every view and every click and every comment, there's a real person, and we share similar personalities or feelings or values or whatever it is. And so when those messages come through, that's like, I mean, that's why you do it. I mean, that's why you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it makes you do more of that. It makes you share more. It makes you play more. It makes you work harder. Like seeing someone say, like, I was going to give up and now I'm not going to, makes you say, well, then I'm not giving up either. You know, that's what it is, man. The two-way street is what excites me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's
I know, we always go deep.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. It's great. let's talk about sort of some influences for a second here. So, I've heard you talk about being influenced as a young player by like metal bands,
Mhm.
or like sort of like hard rock, classic rock bands, and you hear a lot of like young guitar players, sort of come up that way as well. Like that's it's the riff heavy stuff that gets them excited to play the guitar, right? But can you trace the path to your current playing style and how your influences have changed over time?
Yeah, dude, you have good questions. So uh, you'll understand this. We're similar ages. When we were young, um, we had to buy music, and we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So when we did buy music, it was a very big deal. And aside from that, you heard what people around you heard or what was on the radio. So as far as what was on the radio during, when I was coming up, um, all the classic rock stuff, right? Like that's like, that was such a big thing. But then when I bought music, I was that 90s, Nirvana kid. You know what I mean? I was all of that. I had all that angst. And then when I got into middle school, that's when I really got, heavy into metal. And again, a lot of it was because I grew up next to a drummer,
Mm.
and and he was a really, really good metal drummer, and we were the same age, and we didn't have a bass player or anything, so we just played riffs for days, man. Um, and that was what I liked. I liked the aggression. I liked the volume. It was a physical outlet for me. It was not a mental outlet at all. Um, and that was the case for the entirety of my, basically until I went to GIT. I mean, guitar was my way of dealing with my emotions and feelings about myself and other things. And it was just all blunt force trauma, louder, faster, just I would every day I would do finger exercises and chugging things, and it would be entirely to exhaust my physical ability, to the burn was so bad I couldn't play anymore. There was nothing cerebral happening. That didn't come till I went to GIT. When I went to GIT, and I was forced to start using my brain and not just my body, I something wild happened to me, and I fell in love with bluegrass. I got bit by the bluegrass bug really, really, really hard. I think a lot of it might have had to do with moving across the country and wanting to, something that kind of sounded like back homey, or I don't know what it was, but I was completely enamored with, players like Doc Watson and those Old and in the Way records and Tony Rice, and I just loved it. And I found that a lot of the precision of the chops was the same as what I was used to, but it was the first time I played anything that had a chord progression or a melody, right? When you're in riff land, there's no changes. There's no like 1 6 2 5. It's just riff land, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no chord, there's no progression, there's no chart, you know. So that was a big switch. I know it seems funny for anybody that's listening, but like, you can do whatever you want. So then I went down the bluegrass rabbit hole for years, and then the other main influence that I'm leaving out is funk. I have seen George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic and a bunch of those bands probably more than anything I've ever seen. And like for some reason, I've always been a rhythm person. Like I just like, if the rhythm isn't there, like it's just not there for me. And so I've always kind of had that like metal background, and I've always just felt the funk on the one, like I just always have. That is what resonates with me more than any other feel. And then I got really into bluegrass, and like those three things kind of like amalgamated. And then when I came home and started working in these cover bands, I started learning songs that I had never really learned before. And I got absolutely infatuated with the whole concept of what makes a hit, and like, why is something memorable to a non-musician, right?
Mhm.
And why is country music the largest genre in America? Like, what is it about this super simple stuff that that makes it a hit? And so the entire time that I was teaching and playing in these bands, my thought process wasn't like, I don't like this, I don't like that. I was like, what is it about these melodies and rhythms or whatever that make non-musicians get they get it stuck in their head on the way home? Because like, that's the key to everything. We can all play stuff and find stuff that impresses musicians, but that's not the real goal. The goal is, can non-musicians dig it, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference between like your Joe Satriani's and like your Eddie Van Halen's. Like, do you have the songs, and what makes the song memorable to non-musicians? So then I got really big into country and like straight ahead chicken picking, but also like not like bro country, if you will, but like all the old standards. I got hooked on learning all like the old songs, man. The songs like from Waylon and John Prine and just, I'm just a song guy through and through. And so I've spent that whole period really trying to figure out what is like a song formula. Why does it work? Why does this melody connect to these chords? Like backtracking to all the, undoing all the stuff that I learned before. And so then now, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I'm still very much on the hunt for the inside. What makes a hook? What makes a song a song? What makes it memorable? And like, those are the things I like to point out and teach in my videos. Because I mean, it's been like the struggle of my life to try to dig down in this. Like now I'm just, whether genre is basically irrelevant. I'm just trying to figure out what makes a hit, and share those little nuggets along the way. And just, easiest way to put it is like, I'm on a hunt for the inside. Like,
Yeah.
I want the inside. I don't want any of the flashy stuff. I've done all that. I want 3 notes that, a 17-year-old girl or a 70-year-old guy will get stuck in their car on the way home that doesn't play music. That's what I want to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Well, please send me an email when you figure that out, man.
Well, I'm going to be doing it for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
But no, that's just, that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, I started like really physical, loud, physical, aggressive, like to get that out. When it became kind of cerebral, that started with bluegrass because the chops felt the same, I think. And I started falling in love with songs in that respect. The funk was always there. That's never going to go anywhere. But then I just started learning all these popular tunes because I had to, and started teaching, and then really got into country, and that's just kind of where I'm at with it, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Because once
man.
you can't go back.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Well, man, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you today. And get your insight on these things. So thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I appreciate the invite and getting to know you a little better. Do you play in a band up there in Toronto?
Yeah, I play in a band called Fast Times, and I do some solo stuff as well. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we should do this again sometime.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So where can people find the stuff that you do?
You can search Guitargate, Guitargate, anywhere, and you'll find me. Or you can just search my name, Michael Palmisano, which is Palmisano. Or if you want to cut straight to the YouTube stuff, you can just search guitar teacher reacts and enter your favorite band, and something will hit.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. We'll chat real soon.
All right. My pleasure, man. Nice to meet you.